Welcome into Seattle Seahawks Today. I am Tom Downey, and the Seahawks have kind of been hit hard by the injury bug, and the NFL trade deadline always arrives quicker than you might expect. So today, we're taking a look at 5 different players I've come up with that Seattle could trade for, beginning with my number 1 target for Seattle, though these are not ranked. But I would love for the Seahawks to go out and get Ryan Kerrigan. Washington, look, I know they beat the Eagles in Week 1. I don't think they're going to be a very good football team this year. They have Chase Young. They have Montez Sweat. Long term, Kerrigan isn't going to be a part of this organization. He makes a lot more sense for a contending team, I don't know, like the Seattle Seahawks. He remains a really, really good pass rusher. Don't let the down production last year fool you. If Washington begins to sell, Seattle should pick up the phone and do everything they can to get Kerrigan in a trade. So here's my trade proposal. As we go through these, feel free to let me know who says no. S for Seattle, W for Washington. Now, in an ideal world, I think a third-round pick is the proper value for Kerrigan. The problem is Seattle doesn't have a third-round pick. So I got a little bit more creative here. I'll send 2 fourth-rounders to Washington, a 2021 fourth and a 2022 fourth-round pick to get Ryan Kerrigan and help them out, Seattle, I should say, with a need at pass rusher. I know he only had 5.5 sacks last year. He was a little bit banged up, but 13 the previous 2 years, 11. He's already got 2 right now. He kind of plays that 3-4 outside linebacker, 4-3 defensive end role. He would instantly become the best defensive lineman on this Seahawks team. Not just edge rusher. I think he's a better football player than Jaron Reed. Now at each level of the defense, Jamal Adams at the back end, you have Bobby Wagner, and you would bring in Kerrigan. That would be a massive addition to the Seahawks defense. I would love to see them go out and get him. Heck, I might even trade a second-rounder for Kerrigan because he might be just enough to help you in your Super Bowl push. But these are my ideas, and I want to hear from you guys too. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, take advantage. Scroll on down to the pinned comment and put your guys' trade ideas in the comments section. If we get enough of them, we'll put together a trade mailbag featuring only your guys' ideas. Let's go to another kind of sort of edge rusher here. That's Haason Reddick, who, by the way, has played much better for the Arizona Cardinals. But Bruce Irvin, well, he's out for the year. Seattle could use a Sam defensive end pass rusher hybrid. I know that in-division trades don't happen very much, but let's have some fun with it. Reddick was not in good shape to make much of an impact this year, but he's been a pleasant surprise. So instead of being what could have been a 7th-round pick entering the season, I'll bump it up to a 6th, maybe a 5th-rounder to get another edge rusher option for Seattle. Again, same deal. Who says no? Hawks for Seattle, Cardinals for Arizona. The raw stats for Reddick don't really jump off the screen to you, just the one stack, the one tackle for loss. But he's kind of been their 3rd edge rusher option. He's bounced around a lot. He was an edge rusher at Temple and then a linebacker interior guy for the Arizona at the beginning of his career. Now he's back to the outside linebacker spot. I think he slots in perfectly at the strong side linebacker position. Maybe Seattle wants to give Jordan Brooks those reps and non-passing downs. I'm totally on board with that. But if you can get another pass rushing option for a late day 3 pick, I think that'd be a good move by the Seahawks. Speaking of a good move, it was those of you who followed my advice to bet on Seattle to cover against the New England Patriots. You should keep betting on them. This is a really good Seahawks team. You can do it with our new sportsbook partner, BetUS, chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code you see on screen. It's a 125% deposit bonus. And if you didn't take my offer last week, which was if the Seahawks don't cover the spread, I'll Venmo you $50. It's back again for this week. I think the Seahawks will cover that 5-point spread against the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're a much better team. So it's only available to new BetUS customers. If you already took advantage of it last week, does not count. But if you sign up and deposit with BetUS, it's at chatsports.com/bet, and you use that promo code Seahawks125. If you bet on the Seahawks to cover against the Cowboys and they don't do it, I will Venmo you guys $50. You can hit me up on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney if you have questions. But that offer is only available for new customers and, of course, up until kickoff. Let's go to receiver now. 2 names I want to look at, beginning with Kenny Stills, who has become the borderline non-existent fourth receiver for the Houston Texans. Now, much like Ryan Kerrigan, he's a little bit expensive, a little under $7 million, although if you wait a week or two, of course that becomes less. You divide it by 16, #math. He can still help Seattle, though, especially with Philip Dorsett all of a sudden on IR after missing the first 2 games. I don't think he has really any trade value because of his contract. So my proposal here, a 7th-round pick goes to Houston. Seattle gets Kenny Stills. Maybe it's a 6th, but I'm erring on the side of less being offered from Seattle here. You can get your votes in as to who says no once again. Stills could be a good, I think, number 3 receiver for this Seahawks team. Now, David Moore's made some nice plays. Don't get me wrong there. I've been pleasantly surprised by Freddie Swain. At least he had the one nice touchdown catch. But you were kind of banking on a Paul Richardson, a Kenny Stills, or a still suspended Josh Gordon to emerge for this organization. That has not yet happened. If you bring in a older, more experienced veteran who's a little bit more expensive, I think it could work out in the end for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, we are the fastest growing, not just chat sports channel in history, but Seahawks YouTube channel in existence. If you want to join the #1 growing channel, hit that big red button and subscribe. We will continue to keep you guys covered on everything around the Seahawks, not just in season, but postseason as well. Let's go to the big name, Allen Robinson. There are trade rumors all around him because he is worthy of getting a massive extension from the Chicago Bears, and the Bears paid Tariq Cohen first. Still does not make sense to me. Don't know what the Bears are doing. You bring in Allen Robinson. Yes, he's expensive, but all of a sudden, the Let Russ Cook campaign becomes even better because you have arguably, I think not much argue to it, that you would have the best receiving core in the NFL. Now, I think the Bears want a first-round pick. One problem with that. The Seahawks don't have one to give up. So I'm going to go a 2022 second-round pick. I will also include a conditional day 3 pick that can become higher, maybe even up to round 3 or even round 2, depending on what the Seahawks end up doing with Allen Robinson. But if the Bears aren't going to pay him, makes more sense long-term to trade him and maximize your asset going forward. I think Robinson is one of the most underrated players in the NFL because he has not had very good quarterback play, and he continues, when healthy, to put up unreal production. Imagine this receiving core. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Allen Robinson, and if by chance Josh Gordon gets reinstated, he's your number 4 receiver. You can throw in a Greg Olsen or a Chris Carson too. That's awesome. If the Seahawks were actually able to acquire Allen Robinson without giving up a first-round pick, that's the best receiving core in the NFL. Now, I don't consider receiver to be the biggest need right now for the Seattle Seahawks, but if you can get Robinson, I think you have to at least consider it. But I want you guys to chime in here. What do you believe is the single biggest need right now for the Seattle Seahawks? I think it's pass rusher, but get your votes in the comments section. Now, we mentioned how injuries have impacted defensive end, also impacting the secondary. They lost Marquise Blair for the year. There just so happens to be another very, very good hybrid corner safety that could be available on the trade market. Desmond King of the LA Chargers. Now, I thought he was a really good nickel corner for LA last year, but this year, after they brought in Chris Harris, he's kind of been relegated to like the 6th defensive back. Like, he's kind of playing some safety. He's almost playing a linebacker role because the Chargers don't feel good about their linebacking core. I almost went super crazy with this trade, doing something wild involving Desmond King and Denzel Perryman coming to the Seahawks and KJ Wright going to LA. But I decided that was way too much going on. So I'm keeping it simple here. A 5th-round pick goes to the Chargers. Maybe you could talk me into a 4th-rounder, but I think King would be a great addition, if not almost upgrade, over not just Ugo Amadi, but Marquise Blair at the nickel corner spot. I think Desmond King comes in. He might be your second-best cornerback over Shaquille Griffin, although I think Quentin Dunbar's played pretty well. Yeah, you don't want to panic too much in terms of getting up all of your draft picks, but the secondary and the pass rush hasn't worked in tandem enough. If you're not going to upgrade the pass rush, get your secondary even better. I think Desmond King, if he were actually available, could be a huge addition for a Seahawks team that has really overhauled their secondary with some fantastic trades in the past year or so.